So in this video, we're going to show you can use the Novation SL MK3 to actually run into the Deluge and use the live MIDI loop recording function on here. So in other words, we're going to create some chords in each of these steps, and I'll show you how to do that. And then we'll perform it out, kind of improvise, not knowing how long we want it to go on or anything like that. We can just use this as a new workflow for entering notes into the Deluge. So I have the third part here running into the Roland Boutique JU06. So I have that all set up, and what I want to do is press this button here. It's the arrow up, and what we're looking at is the top row is muting, the bottom row is solo. So we want to go to the third one in, make sure that that is enabled. If it's enabled, it means it's muted. So I have a session on here. If I want to use this technique for all my synths that are wired in, I just enable all of the mutes and then save it as a session. So what I want to do is enter in chords or notes right into each one of these steps. And I already have right here the circuit playing a beat, just a very simple beat. So that's like the beat that I'm going to be using in this track. So let's see, we're going to start off right here. We're going to start off with a D note. And you can hear it. So to add a note, you just press it. To get rid of it, you just press it again. And that's all while you're holding the step. So if I press this, it's just going to play that note. So next I want it to have that note and also the chord up here. So D minor. We're going to hold that down. We're going to enter in those notes. And now we press that. So if I play it to a beat, okay, let's say I want to go A minor on the next one. And this one we're just going to have it just the chord and the bass note. And then we'll do a G major after that, so hold that down, enter in a G major. Now let's add in some other notes, like higher notes. We'll just put them down here, wherever you want, you know? So we'll just do notes from D minor, except way up here. You can actually go change the pattern now on the newest firmware on here. So if I scroll down, we're looking at 8 different screens of 16 different memory banks we can create from. So if you're working on a song like, okay, let's make totally different chord progression down here, you can do that pretty easily. So let's just record something right in. We're not going to know how long it's going to go for. And then when we're done, we're going to press the mute again, and it's going to close that loop and it'll start looping it. We're going to close it. There we go. So we easily came up with something. This is good if you're not that good of a keyboard player, but you have ideas and you want to compose something. Now let's say I like all this, but I want to make a new part here. So I'm just going to copy these down to another section. I'm going to clear this one out, make it back to 1 bar. And I'm going to switch into this track. So here we go. We're just going to a blank track. Okay, so here we go. We're going to do a different variation this time. Records enabled. We're going to start it up. Okay, so by mistake, I missed that first chord. So we're going to record again. And I'm just going to put in that note because I missed it. Here we go. There it goes. Now we can, modify the drum beat. Maybe we'll make it. You can switch back and forth. So let's say we want to add the circuit in here. I'm using my free Howl preset. So we'll just do like, we'll just put in notes like this. Now in here I go to the mixer and I disable both synths. So that way if I press it, it's just gonna trigger it, and it's not gonna trigger it from here when I press play. See, it doesn't trigger it. So what I can do then, we're just gonna make sure all this is muted again. Normally I have it set up differently, but for this instance, here we go. This is synth 1. So I'm just going to record this in. We'll just start it. If you do it from the stop, we'll just enable it and just press play. It's going to count in. So there we go. And again, let's add something for the next track. I'm just going to bring this back to 1. We're going back to here. Let's record from stopping. We're going to have the count in go through. So this is an easy way to add things in. If you have the Novation circuit, you can also just trigger MIDI out. You can do a lot of different things using this setup. And it makes songwriting a whole lot quicker, at least for me. I'm not the best keyboard player, but even if you are, this might be a good way, workflow idea, if you have either the circuit or if you have the remote SL MK3. So right now we're looking at the sequencer. If I go to scales here, and I change the type to chromatic, and then I hold down shift and enable scales. Now what we're gonna have is we're gonna be able to change the transposition of the chord memory. So right now it's on 0, so if I bring it up, say 4, go back to sequencer. So now I can have another part on here, let's say. So let's record that in. So that works pretty well. So here's another thing. There is an issue. So I have this set to my Yamaha CP. If I actually enter in a note, let's say real gently, and then another one real hard. So if we trigger it, it's the same velocity. So that's one thing they did not include on this. So what I would want to do is bring down, press options, and make sure we're in velocity, and then bring down each of the notes in the chord. So that's the only thing. I wish it could record or perform back at the velocity you press them. It'd be really cool. Maybe that'll come in a new firmware.